Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this episode, we are going back. If you've been following the podcast, you know we have been doing what we call the VERZUZ series. Not VERZUZ like you remember from the from the pandemic, but the VERZUZ series where we take an artist and we take two of their albums and we compare them, both albums. But in comparing both albums, what we also do is we give you the criteria and then we come up with a total score to see which album we deem is better. And so if you've been following along, we've done a couple of these. The first one that we kicked off was Mary J. Blige, My Life versus What's the 411. And if you remember that episode, if you didn't hear that episode, go back and listen to it. But if you heard that episode, you knew that I was joined by a special guest, and she is back in the building. My girl Britt is back. Britt, what's good?
Not much. I'm excited about this one. I'm geeked about this one.
Yes, indeed. Both of us are two big fans of the artist that we're going to talk about, and the artist is known as Prince Rogers Nelson. And we're going to do a versus between his two albums, Purple Rain and Sign of the Times. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Britt has on her Prince shirt. She has the Prince. You want to show them the Prince albums too?
Oh yeah, you need the original, the authentic track list in front of you.
Yes, she's got the visuals. So, before we even get started, Britt, let's talk about both of these albums real quickly. What do these albums mean to you? Just on a personal note.
Everything. I mean, those who follow me already on social media know every day, just about, I'm mentioning Prince somehow. You'll either see a screenshot from a Prince album or something, and it's usually Sign of the Times. Usually, but one thing about Prince, his stuff is very poetic, but it sticks with you and it really hits you in different spots that other artists don't, like Michael Jackson. Shout out BTG. He'll be saying something about that. But
of course.
But I mean, there's just like when we talked about Mary J. Blige ones, you take a piece of something hits you in a certain time of your life. And these two albums, I remember being a kid listening to these, and like certain songs, I remember being in the car with my mom and she was playing them, and so there's some nostalgia with these albums on both of them.
Yeah, I'd agree 1,000%. I think these albums are time capsules for me in my lifetime. I'm looking here, and Purple Rain was released June 25th, 1984. Sign of the Times, March 30th, 1987. Yep. And so, I was so young then. I was like, 12 and 15 when these came out, or turning 12 and turning 15. I think both albums are like, they're songs that are timepieces to my life. And as we talk a little bit more in the podcast, you'll kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about. But huge fan of Prince. He's better than Michael Jackson, but I mean that's another story for another day. But
we'll do a show.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna have to be a show where we have to bring Baylor on. Shout out to BTG. Check out his podcast, BTG for President. But yeah, it's I love Prince, and it still hurts that he's not here, but the music lives forever. So let's get to it, Britt. I mean, like, again, we're fans, so we're gonna fan out a little bit. As I mentioned at the top, it's easy to say, okay, well, hey, let's go song for song or bar for bar, whatever the case may be. This versus that we do here on the 12 Kyle podcast is totally different because we're going to talk about two albums that some deem classic, quote unquote classic. But the thing is that when we're debating an album or what have you, we want to give it context, and to give it context, you got to have a criteria. So we gave it a criteria, and the criteria falls in the line of these items. 1, coherence. 2, impact. 3, replayability, being able to replay the album and how much you get from it when it's being replayed. 4, lyrics, and finally production. So it's going to be interesting as we go back and forth. I'm going to be interested because I don't know how you're going to score these albums. I got an idea, but we'll see.
5.
Would you say 5's all the way? So
it was hard going back and listening. It was hard, and like breaking down criteria to not give both of them 5s and everything.
Right.
That's just because I'm such a huge fan and I dig deeper into his stuff than probably what a regular person would.
Mm-hmm. And the same here. I mean, like the music just hits you different. Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, and what's interesting is like same for like when we did Mary J. Blige's My Life and What's the 411. I didn't even really have to go back to those albums because those albums are still albums that I still listen to.
Right.
And the same for Prince. They never kind of fall out of rotation. That something I always listen to at least once or twice a month. So it's not like you're that far away. It's not like I'm listening to something that I hadn't heard like in 20 years or something like that. So it's this is going to be interesting to say the least. As I mentioned earlier, the word classic gets thrown around a lot. It's thrown around a lot on social media between fans. And that's usually a term that they use to try to get the consensus to agree on something. Whether or not something's a classic really isn't about whether or not it's good or bad, but it's more has to do with someone's personal favorites. But here, we're going to talk about it, like I said, based on criteria. So the first criteria we're going to break down is coherence. If you're grading on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, we'll start with Purple Rain, Britt. What are you giving Purple Rain?
Okay, so when we talk about coherence, we're talking about a theme, like emotions, like what does it paint for you, right? And having the criteria, it's interesting. Having this criteria, I looked at them both different. I've listened to these for years. I listen to them weekly. I started realizing some other stuff. And Purple Rain, I'm going to give it a 4. Okay. Because it does have a theme, but I think I knew this one was going to be hard. Purple Rain, it's hard to separate it from the movie. Right? You know all the songs, but you also tie it into the movie because it's the soundtrack for the movie.
1,000%.
I'm trying to keep the movie separate because that painted the picture even more. But if you go back and you just listen to the songs, they're about acceptance. Mm-hmm. Darling Nikki, I Would Die for You, even Baby I'm a Star. They're all talking about like, how do you perceive me? I want you to just love me type. All of the songs. I didn't even realize that until to it and reading the criteria. But I'm going to give it a 4 because I don't feel that separate from the movie. I don't feel it was a 5 as far as like having a whole entire theme. That one you do have to dig for. It's not so obvious, but I'd still give it a 4.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think it's very coherent. I think, I got to throw the half in there. I think the thing that keeps it kind of together is what you just mentioned. I really, in listening to it, I still kind of go back and forth between the songs in the movie, because like when you hear certain songs, you know where they are in the movie because we've seen the movie at least 100 times. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I think it's beautifully put together. And again, that's just me as a fan, kind of fanning out a little bit. But I love the way that it's crafted. I think it's perfectly sequenced, and it's not a long album. It's only 43 minutes. Where Sign of the Times, which we'll talk about, is much longer, particularly if you have the extended versions. But yeah, I love it, man. So I got to give it a 4.5. So now, conversely, Sign of the Times. What do you have for coherence for that?
Let me go back to your little Purple Rain thing, though. You started talking about. You mentioned a little bit production, the sequence of it all. You can't go there yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right. I'm a little ahead of myself.
I put a little bit ahead of it. So with coherence, right? Going back to it's a theme and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually giving it a 4 as well, and maybe a regular person wouldn't, but I listen to this album all the time, and it's really about life and love, because he's got more songs that are more serious and about life than it is all about,
mm-hmm.
what Purple Rain is.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to dig into the other categories because
right.
It's hard. But yeah, this one's more life and love, but the way it flows, what he talks about, I feel it does all tie in together. Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a 4 as well. I think the theme of love, and I kind of remember, I know it was a long time ago, but I think I remember what he was going through kind of like on a personal level.
Yep.
But I think it's very coherent. I think the theme that Prince is pushing forward is one that we as fans really loved and really bonded over. And I this is just, it's a cold ass album. I mean, I just can't. There's not much more I can say beyond that. It really is from start to finish. But even in going back and listening to it, like there's certain songs that just kind of grab you, and personally, I appreciate that, particularly as as the album has gotten older over the years.
Right.
So yeah, let me write this down. 4. All right. So now we move to impact. Purple Rain. What you got?
I gave it a 5, and I think that's obvious. If you look at it a standpoint from somebody who's not a crazed fan like we are, Purple Rain was more impactful in the era, music, everything. That's kind of, Prince was popular before, but I think that's what really put him on the map with different demographics and everything, was that with the, once again, including the movie in it, which I really don't want to do, but that's what put it on the map the way it did. People wearing the purple coats and everything else. That's when people started, wanting to look and dress like Prince. Not when he was in a trench coat and a Speedo, but more so when, the purple jacket. But the purple jacket, when you see people dress up for Halloween and it's Prince, it's Purple Rain Prince. It's never a different type. But yeah, that, and then was there a song? There's been plenty of people who do lots of covers to all his music, but popular one I've heard quite a bit was Darling Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, I gotta agree. It's a 5. The thing I say about his impact, if you were alive and outside in 1984 when this came out, you know why. This dude was incredible. Mm-hmm. This album was incredible. The movie was incredible. you couldn't touch him, for what it's worth. And we've always talked and debated and laughed and argued about, Purple Rain and Thriller, whatever like that. But I mean, there was no Thriller movie, right?
They tried 15-minute music video.
Right. Yeah. So, Mike had those, many movie videos and stuff. And again, I don't want to dive too deep into Mike versus Prince. Right. That's another podcast that's definitely gonna come. One that Baylor will lose. But again. But yeah, his impact on not just adults, but like I said, I was a kid. I was, a young kid coming up, and I just loved this album. I mean, like it hit me and it stuck with me. And I remember, and I tell people all the time, like the first album because in my house we had albums. My mom had her albums, my dad had his albums, and the first album that I actually got was Purple Rain. And I'll never forget it. Like it always stands with me. I bought the first album I got was the 45. I got the When Doves Cry 45. And on the flip side of the When Doves Cry was 17 Days, and 17 Days is my favorite Prince song.
I talked about this before.
Yep. So yeah, impact, I mean, it's a 5. I mean, so I'm not surprised that you gave it a 5. So now let's go to Sign O' the Times. What you got?
I hate this. I have to, as far as impact, I gotta rate it lower, because if I'm going to be realistic, I don't know too many people who like actually know about Sign of the Times anyway. Everybody knows the mainstream stuff from Prince, and he had singles, but it's just nothing's really like boom out there for everybody in general. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. If I'm talking about that. Impact for me would have been going to say overall, yeah.
I like how you threw the half in there.
I can't give it a 3. I don't even want to give it a 3.5, but if I'm going to be realistic,
I feel you. I got to give it a 3, Britt. I think it's it was definitely something for us fans.
Yes,
it was definitely something for us fans. I think I think it was one of those joints that when it came out, it resonated with us, and it still resonates to this day. I just don't know that when you're comparing apples to apples, I don't think that it's going to stack up against Purple Rain. But I mean, you could say that about any artist going against their preceding album. So I'm gonna give it a 3. But like you said, Britt, the singles, woo! Listen, yes indeed.
Real quick, I think it's on Peacock and maybe Prime. You can watch how he like recorded the whole album like on state. I think it was Sunset Sound or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Recorded it. You can watch it on there. It's like a whole concert show.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I need to peep that.
Yeah.
I definitely need to peep that for real. Now we move to the next category: replayability. When you play it, are you playing it constantly? Is it something that's in your rotation? How would you rate Purple Rain as far as replayability?
Okay, that's a 5. But to see replayability, that can be more personal. Me, I play it all the time. It's on many different playlists that I play.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think almost all the songs on that album were singles.
Just about, yeah.
Like, I know Computer Blue didn't. Baby I'm a Star didn't. But you have Die For You, Purple Rain, When Doves Cry, Take Me With You, Darling Nikki, like all of them. Let's Go Crazy. How did I forget that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, most of it was singles.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I heard every song. I think I heard every song on the radio.
probably,
At some point, I heard every song on the radio.
yeah.
Yeah, replayability for me now. I mean, that it's like a 5.5.
Right.
I mean, it's out of here. This is and I mentioned earlier it's 43 minutes, but it don't feel like it because you play it and it comes on and it goes and it goes and it goes and it's off and it's like damn.
Yeah,
And then the cool part about it was, especially when I was younger, when I had the tape, you just flip the tape over.
Yep.
That was it. You know what I'm saying? You just flip the tape right over because you wanted to hear it again. So definitely a 5 for me. Now conversely, Sign of the Times, replayability.
It's a 5 for me.
Really? Okay. Why?
It is. And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't think that because he has some slow and then fast and slow and then fast. I'll get into that in our other category. But some of my favorite songs are on this one. And I am a B-sides. I like to be a B-sides fan with a lot of my favorite people, especially Prince. And now don't get me wrong, I love Purple Rain. But I appreciate his other stuff way more actually than the stuff that everybody else knows.
Right.
I just think because I also relate to a lot of the songs, it just hits me different on Sign of the Times than it does. Like Purple Rain, it's one of those mainstream party, like, oh yeah, I can dance and whatever to this. But this one, like, I just feel it more. So it makes me want to play more, I guess.
That makes total sense. I will say this. Sign of the Times probably up until a few years ago, I probably would have given it a 3 as far as replayability. Now it's a 4. But I love listening to it, and I love the fact that the more and more I listen to it, I still pick up on different things with each listen, and I think that's the sign of a good album. I think. But yeah, I love it. I love, and I'm in the place where kind of like I mentioned on the Mary J joint, where when I listen to one, I listen to the other. So they kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, I love this album. Love this album. Love playing it. So now we move to lyrics. All right, Britt, what you got? Purple Rain.
I'm giving Purple Rain a 4. Because if I'm comparing, and I'll end up giving my answer for the next one. But if I'm comparing, I feel that the lyrics are artistic, but it's a different level when you're comparing it to Sign of the Times. That's one thing Prince has always been able to paint. What does he say in the song? Paint a perfect picture.
Paint a perfect picture.
He's able to paint you a picture with his words, but he doesn't directly tell you. Or he's just got all these. It's so hard because he was complex. He was a genius. Right. But I just feel that Purple Rain, trying to keep from the movie. If I didn't have the movie, I'm still painting stuff, just not as much as I would if I didn't have the visuals. Like, I feel Purple Rain is more the party. Like, it's not so in depth. That's what I'm looking for. The lyrics aren't as in depth on Purple Rain. Purple Rain, the actual song, might be the only one that was as far as lyrics.
Okay, Britt, I hear you. Of course, I got to disagree. I got to go with a 5. I think. I mean, when he said, "I knew a girl named Nikki," I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. Met her in the hotel lobby masturbating with a magazine. And Britt, I'm singing a song and I don't know what that means. And I'm singing it out loud in front of my mom and dad. And they're like looking at each other. But they know that I don't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you can put a lyric like that in a song, man, come on, man. You got to be.
You're right.
It's nothing even to talk. Listen,
right.
What else to talk about, man?
Right, maybe I should give a Purple Rain a half because now that I think about Darling Nikki, yeah.
So you gonna change yours from a 4 to a 5? Or you gonna keep it at a 4?
I'm gonna do a 4.5 on Purple.
Okay.
That's fair. Yeah. And that, but I might get with these two, so I find. But
right.
Yeah, he said some things in Darling Nikki.
Yes, he did.
That he did.
So, what about Sign of the Times?
I'm giving it a 5.
Okay.
I mean, because if you listen to the lyrics, because like I said before, he's talking about life and love in this, and he gets serious with some of the lyrics, and they're very relatable, especially if you have times where you're struggling or whatever, like The Cross. You know, that's an inspirational song if you ask me. But just listening to the lyrics of Sign of the Times, he's talking about somebody being basically strung out on crack and all this other stuff, life stuff, but he's putting it in a song that flows and you're not sitting there getting all depressed. Like it's something you can jam to. It's weird. But then you go to my favorite song on the album, which I think is the best love in the world, Adore.
Hey now.
Man, the lyrics on that one, he says, if God one day struck me blind, your beauty I'd still see. Love is true, it's too weak to find just what you mean to me. Like, that's a love song. He talks about your eyes so you can wander. Like, come on. I think the lyrics on that is more relatable than on Purple Rain. And I'm one of those. I like to relate to the lyrics.
Okay.
That one more.
Yeah, when he said I was rapping till the sun came up,
woo,
he had me hooked.
Yeah.
See, you know, this generation don't know nothing about rapping till the sun coming up. Being on the phone all night.
Yep.
I got to give it a 4. Mainly for most of what you just said. I mean, like, you know, like I said earlier, he was going through some personal things. But his ability to capture you, like you said, if God one day struck me blind, your beauty I'd still see. That means, though, like, no matter what happens, I'm still going to see the beauty in you. Right. You know, I mean, so this dude was out of here, man. I loved, and I remember, this was maybe I had the album for a couple of months, and I always remember this. I was listening to the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, and he said, I want to order a fruit cocktail. I'm like, man, who goes to a restaurant and orders a fruit cocktail?
Prince?
But then when you think exactly that, Britt, that's my exact point. When you think about it, only Prince would go to a restaurant and be, you know, approached by a beautiful waitress, and he say, "Hey, man, I'm good. I just give me a fruit cocktail." I mean, nobody. No, and fruit cocktails were very popular in the 80s, but you ain't going to getting one from no restaurant. But yeah, I mean, like that right there is just it's the beauty and the comedic side of Prince, I think. And I think, you know, Prince is real. See, Prince,
pay attention. He's got jokes like every.
Exactly.
My favorite, go off topic, the Batman soundtrack.
There you go.
You know which one I'm talking about? Which song I'm talking about?
It was a couple of them. It was a couple of them.
One, he says, something about who asked her lover, "Why is your organ so small?" He replied, "I didn't know I was playing in a cathedral." Vicky waited.
Yes.
Like when I got older and knew what he was talking about, I was like, "Oh,
right, right."
But
And see, that's Prince.
Yeah. Going back to the lyrics because I'm looking at the track list again. The stuff that's so relatable too, like "Strange Relationship." "Honey, I can't stand to see you happy. More than that, I hate to see you sad." Like basically talking about, I know we shouldn't be together because we drive each other crazy. Yeah. I don't want to see you happy with nobody else, but I hate seeing you sad too. Like, that's your life.
Very much so. Very relatable content.
Yeah. That's why the lyrics on this one just, yeah.
Okay. So we move to the final category of production.
I've been waiting.
Yes, indeed. I mean, like Purple Rain, what you got?
Okay. I'm giving it a 5 on Purple Rain. Everything flows together. That's one thing with Prince. If you listen to any of his albums, you're not sitting there going next, or like, I don't feel like listening to this one right now because it's slow. He will throw slow songs in the middle, but they flow together. And the one thing with Purple, it is a shorter track list than it is Sign of the Times. So it's probably easier to do just throwing them in a certain order. But Purple Rain definitely flows good together. And I just realized this. He ends them both on some slow. Nice outro. But I was waiting for this because I think I like this category the most. The intro. Now, Prince does not have intro, interludes, whatever. He doesn't have those. But the first song that leads into it on Purple Rain is Dearly Beloved. Like, that's how you start your album, though?
Right.
We're gathered here today to get to this thing called life. Take it away and end it on Purple Rain.
Yes.
Like the one that makes everybody cry and gotcha, bitch. No.
Right. Exactly.
It just all goes. Put them in the right order, and to start play, and it's Prince production. It's 5.
Yeah, I gotta agree. The production is definitely a 5. Purple Rain takes you on an emotional roller coaster. Like you said, you start off with Let's Go Crazy, you're up in the high, and then you're coming down. And for as sad as a song that Purple Rain really should be, it is everybody's, a lot of people's favorite Prince song. And we all know that, at least us fans, his reluctancy to, release the song. And, he was at a point in his career where he was doing everything and he was doing the writing and he didn't really want the input from the band and, all these other things that surrounded that song. So, which we saw, kind of play out in the movie. But, I mean, I it's Prince. I can't give him anything less than a 5. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah.
So now, conversely, Sign of the Times. What you got?
It's getting a 5 too, and I will tell you why. First of all, just like this, the intro, he kind of starts the intro of the album with the song Sign of the Times, where he's talking about in France a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. And what does he say? By chance he came across his sister and soon she did the same, something like that. Like, he's talking about the state of the world. So before I go on with this album, I'm going to tell you where we are right now. It's kind of how I receive that. And then you go through and once again, slow songs, fast songs, whatever, but they all tie into life and love. And then you end it with the best song in the world, Adore, on your little slow outro. But this is what I noticed when listening to this one again, and I never realized it. So I listened to it. I actually realized it today. If you go and you listen to these songs, and you don't even have to listen to them all the way through, listen to the first 20 seconds and listen to the last like 10, right, of each song. Just go through the album and do that. It flows together so well because if you pay attention, there is like he carries an instrument sound from the first one to the next one, and it's different every time. It's
Really?
crazy. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Okay.
That's nothing I looked up. That's just something I listened, and I was like, it kind of sounds like that. And I went back and I was like, because the guitar sounds like this in this one, and then it moves to the next one. But then the next one, it could be like a kick drum sound that he carried to the next one. Like it literally is taking something from the previous song and then removes that one and puts something from that next. It's crazy. The man is a genius. Like he knows how to tie things in together. So it's a 5.
Wow. I never. Wait a minute. Say that again. Say that. I'm gonna have to do that. You said the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, the first 20 seconds to give you like so you can hear all the sounds in the song, and then just fast forward last like 10-15 seconds so it's fading out so you can still hear them and how it goes to the next one. And he also has it flow. I think a couple of songs, it sounds like there's a crowd and then it kind of fizzles out and then it flows into it, or there's the record scratching sound, or like not this record scratching, but you know, like that static sound. It flows into the next one. So he's got a little bit of that. But if you listen, there's an instrument or something sound from the previous song that he'll carry to the next one. And then he'll have all these other sounds on top of that, but then he'll pick a different sound and carry that to the next song.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's
okay.
amazing.
I'm definitely going to check that out. And I think that's, you know, part of the beauty of his music is because, you know, all these years later, you can pick up on little small subtle things. It's and that's the, you know, to be honest, that's when I hear and feel stuff like that, Britt, that's when you get a little sad because it's like, man, I would love to ask him, was this intentional?
Right.
And then he might be like, yeah, I got you, didn't I?
Right. That's the kind of person he is, though. When you hear stories about people who have worked with him or had interactions, way deeper than what you would probably even think he's thinking of.
Right.
Like he's 20 steps ahead of you and you're still sitting like on the sideline somewhere. Way ahead of the game and everything.
1000%. Yeah, I got Sign of the Times at 4.5. I think it's beautifully crafted. You know, I just remember listening to it, you know, for the first couple of times and just really just loving it, man. And you know, even back then, I didn't go into it looking for Purple Rain Part 2, which can happen for fans. I understand, I get it, but at the same time, like it was just so dope, and it flowed, and it was something that by the time it came out, I'd moved on to CDs, so this was heavy in the rotation. And like you said, to end with Adore, which is one of my favorite ballads, period.
I love that song.
It's been on every Slow Jams Get the Draws tape. I mean, so I mean, what else you want me to say? But yeah, it's I just love it. I love it. And this album, you know, it still resonates. It still feels, it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel like 1987. It still feels good, and it still feels like something worth listening to. Because sometimes, you know, we'll have music and be like, man, it was just for that particular time. But I think this album, well, actually both albums, you know, kind of just sit with you, and they stick to you, and you get a good feel and a good vibe from it. So yeah, I'm rolling with that. Man, that's crazy. So we've completed the categories. Any final thoughts before I tell you the numbers?
Something tells me Purple Rain's getting more, but Sign of the Times is my favorite. That's why I was trying hard to like be realistic and not be biased. But I love Sign of the Times. I could play that every day. I do almost, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So the tail of the tape. Um, First up, Purple Rain. You scored it at 23.5. So good for you. I scored Purple Rain at 24.5. Um, Sign of the Times. You scored it at 22.5. I scored it at 19.5.
Well,
and
damn.
The winner is Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm. Which I think a winner for me is Sign of the Times.
Right. And you know what? It's really, I mean, it's only a point between Purple Rain and for you. I mean, mine is a little bit, wider gap. But you're 23.5 and 22.5. So I mean, that's really a flip of the coin if you're being honest.
Yeah.
Just depends on the day, so
yeah. How am I feeling today?
Yeah, exactly. Which one do I want to bump? What's your favorite song on well, I know you said Adore, but besides Adore, what's your favorite song on Sign of the Times?
I'm probably gonna go with damn that part. I'm probably gonna go with Strange Relationship.
Okay. For me, gee, that's tough. The Ballad of Dorothy Parker still just it just does something to me. I don't know what it is. It just does something to me.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Have you heard the Strange Relationship live version?
And no, I haven't.
I like it. The bass in the live version is different than the album. There's a little to it, and it just hits different. And I think that's why I end up gravitating to that. But I don't know. I just love them all. No, take it back. Live version, which is not on this album, that's what I would pick if I was your girlfriend.
And you know what? I thought it was so dope when TLC did the remix of it.
They did a good job.
They did a really good job because that's not an easy song to do.
Stuff. But TLC did a good job.
They did a good job, and I think because Prince he wouldn't let a lot of people cover his music, so he had to really, really rock with you. And I don't know if it was Chili or if it was Left Eye or someone in the group. It was somebody in the group that he rocked with pretty cool for him to sign off on that. Conversely, favorite song off of Purple Rain.
Besides Purple Rain, because I think that's a given.
Right. Besides Purple Rain.
I'm going to go with Take Me With You.
Okay. Man. I got to go with the beautiful ones. That piano. Man, listen. The beautiful ones always smash the picture.
Yep.
Always, every time.
They hurt you every time.
Yes, indeed.
That would probably be one next to Take Me With You. I think Take Me With You just feels like a song that that's one you're in the car and you just singing and you don't care. But the beautiful one, love a good piano because it reminds me of this song that I like that Snow Allegra does, and the intro is piano, very similar to that. There's something about piano. Like, you don't need, I mean, Prince can play almost every instrument anyway, but you don't need all the extra stuff. If you got a good piano, which Prince in a lot of his songs, that's what makes it. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, like the piano kind of does it for me on that song. He released videos for quite a few of these songs on Sign of the Times, and of course the videos for Purple Rain were in the movie or whatever. So man, it's just and I'm going back and forth. It's like it's flipping a coin, but I Purple Rain is always going to be close. So like it's always going to be near and dear to my heart just because of where I was and that being my first album and stuff like that. So I knew that my votes was going to be a little bit more slighted, but I'm glad that we did this one because what I want people to do is go check out Sign of the Times. It is a really, really, really dope album. It's really dope. And I mean, we know Purple Rain is dope, but I mean, like Sign of the Times it's cold. It's a cold ass album for real.
Yeah, I mean, this could turn into a whole Prince episode if you wanted to, but go and listen to just about any of Prince's albums. And I will say this, as a real fan, I will say this: his later stuff, yeah, you might not be able to way through, honestly,
right.
But
right.
Going all the way up to probably, I wouldn't even say Graffiti Bridge. And what's that one? Parade, the one he did for Under the Cherry Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So from his first album, Under the Cherry Moon, and I have all those albums on vinyl. All the ones worth it, but all those you can literally listen to them all the way through. The production, everything is the same. Everything, I would probably be able to rate them just about the same as these two. Mm-hmm. If you want to be realistic with all of that.
So do you think the fall off kind of came after the Parade album?
Did Graffiti Bridge come after Parade? I think so.
Let me look and see.
I think that was like 90, 91. I think Parade was like the end of the 80s, something like that.
I don't know, because they all kind of run together to me.
Yeah. Pushing them out.
He was on one for real. Let me see, pull up his discography here. But I think there was a point in time where you could kind of tell that it was, and I'm like you, like the end was like, and it wasn't that it was bad music, it wasn't what you thought it was. Okay, so
he was changing, which you are totally allowed to do music.
It was Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, Parade, Sign of the Times, Love Sexy, Batman, Graffiti Bridge, Diamonds and Pearls, Love Symbol. So I think it probably started fading after Diamonds and Pearls.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think and Graffiti Bridge had so many other people on it because it was a soundtrack to the movie Graffiti Bridge, yes. But he included a lot of songs with other people at the time, Tevin Campbell. But yeah, I agree. Diamonds and Pearls is right around the time where it started to change.
I think Diamonds and Pearls was the last one that I'm looking at. I think it's the last one that I bought because I didn't buy. Let me see, the Love Symbol. Did I buy that? I don't think I bought the Love Symbol. I know I didn't buy. No, I didn't buy that. I'm looking at the album cover. I didn't buy it.
So that is an album that everybody should listen to, and that one I love because it's one track. Like, of course, not on a vinyl.
Yes,
you gotta flip it.
Right,
but
right.
No, were to buy this is one
long track
because they all just flow right in together, which is what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Love that album.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these last ones. There are a couple of names like hitting the last two, I guess, officially that they have listed on Wikipedia. Hit and Run Phase 1, Hit and Run Phase 2. I'm pretty sure I did.
Hit and Run 1. It was the one
with Artificial Age.
Yes, I actually love that one. That one
really?
I all the way through. I tell a lot of people who do listen to Prince that one of his later albums that's actually really good is that one.
Mm-hmm.
That one I can listen to all the way through. It's pretty good. But,
and with Prince not being here anymore, we're gonna start getting, and we already have been getting, some of his unreleased music. I'm always kind of in the middle with all that stuff because I'm like, if he didn't release it, is that music that we definitely really want to hear, because maybe he meant for us not to hear. Maybe he didn't feel like it was up to par. So I'm kind of, where do you stand on that?
I agree where I'm like unsure because maybe it wasn't up to par or anything. I was skeptical about when they started playing the stuff on Apple Music. I was excited because I could hear, but at the same time, I'm like, this isn't what he wanted. Like, I had the CDs, I had albums, so I did. But I gave him my money, but I felt weird. I didn't listen to it on Apple Music actually, probably for a couple months after it came out on Apple Music because I felt. I do have the vinyls, like Piano and I. But see, that's the thing. I bought them, so yeah, they're streaming. But I did give my money. I do feel weird because the art, and I don't know if he wanted us, like you said, to hear tons of not albums, but songs that were unreleased. And what's crazy? Okay, spoiler alert. And if you don't want me to say it, I won't. But it's about Paisley Park. They changed some stuff, but spoiler alert. The last time I had gone, there's a studio. You get to see the studios and stuff. But there's a studio. They left his sheet music up. Because there's some things they left around because it's part of it, right? This was his home. Yes, it's a museum type thing, but this is his home. So there's some last things he was doing or where he placed stuff where they just left it. I cried because that shit hit me hard. Like, that's crazy, right? But going to a studio, you didn't get to see what was on the sheet music because of it was on the stand. But he was working on a jazz album.
Wow.
Right? But they left it there. They left the headphones hanging like they were, whatever. But it's like, yes, I would have loved to hear that finished version, but I really hope they don't release whatever he did. Because that's not what he would have wanted anyway. But like, to know that that's how Prince was, I do feel weird still listening to stuff that's, that he didn't release. So how do you feel about it?
I'm kind of the same way. I for a while I avoided it, to be honest. And I remember, even not long after he passed, I remember, having a discussion on Twitter, and people were like, "Oh man, we're going to get to hear what's in the vault." And I'm like, I don't necessarily know if I want to hear what's in the vault, because what's in the vault is in the vault for a reason, and I don't know. I mean, Prince was so far ahead of his time and so far ahead of all of us. Maybe he saw something like this. Maybe he saw himself transitioning before, the age of 70 or whatever like that. And, that wasn't his intent. And I mean, he's got tons and tons and tons of music. So yeah, his music and trust and believe Prince's B-sides and his throwaways, a lot of is better than 90% of the music out there right now. So we're not getting the bottom of the barrel stuff. Trust me. But I'm like you. I'm kind of in the middle as far as like, I don't know if he necessarily wanted us to hear it. So if I don't think if he wanted us to hear it, he would have put it out at some point. Right. Now, if it was an album that he had finished and it was ready to go and it just didn't get out because he left us, then that's different. But getting song from here and a song from here and cut and paste and stuff, I'm cool on that.
And the thing is, I won't say everybody, but like today's artists die and their stuff gets released, they probably want that. But with Prince, it's more art to him. Like, that's his baby. It's different than a lot of other people. They probably wouldn't mind their stuff being released. But I mean, if Prince wasn't letting people play their, use his stuff, and he probably did not want his stuff released. Like the thing I sent you, that interview with Alicia Keys, where he told her, I love the record, but you something because I'm not letting these white people send their kids off to college off my stuff. I'm not gonna pay or no, you're not gonna make money off of my stuff. So no, exactly. I really don't think he wanted this stuff released. Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see what that music and what that energy feels like whenever it comes to us, because we know it's going to come, because his estate is, they're going to make money off of it, and I get it. I mean, I'm not mad at it at the same time, but just as a fan, we want to keep stuff as pure and as close to Prince as what we remember. So and it's funny because like he's one of the few artists that can do that. He's gone, and here we are still tipping around like, I don't know if he really wanted us to do it, but should we do it? Like he's looking down on us like, don't you touch that.
Like, trouble.
Exactly. So but yeah, this was dope, man. I mean, Purple Rain versus Sign of the Times, it kind of went the way I thought it was going to go, but nonetheless, again, two incredible albums. I implore any and all of you, if you haven't heard these albums, please, ma'am, please, sir, go listen to them at the end of this podcast. Before we get out of here, Britt, tell folks where they can find you on social media.
On X.
Oh yeah, X.
On X. Gosh, I hate that, but yes. Twitter, if you haven't updated yet, it's still the bird.
It's still the bird.
X is just Britty18. I know I'm kind of on other social medias, but I am still ready to get myself off, so I'm not even going to give that. Just Twitter/X, Britty18.
There it is. You can catch me on social media at 12Kyle, the number 12KYLE. The podcast as well, 12Kyle Podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. From time to time, we drop bonus episodes on Sundays at midnight. Be sure to download and subscribe and share it. Share it with your friends, your family, your mom and them, everybody. If you want to, contribute financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. That's going to do it for us. So for my girl Britt, I'm your boy 12Kyle. This has been a review of the VERZUZ. Purple Rain versus Sign of the Times. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.